Straight into it today, guys. Normally I just do my bits and say hello and introduce Andy, but thought, why not jump in straight away?
Head first.
Straight away, why not? No messing around. Get straight to it. So as you can see, the right hand side on the normal agenda has all the last ones on there because I've been frantically busy today creating graphics for the next two videos. Filmed one of them today and the graphics for the next one. But we will talk about the graphics for the next one. And it will be surrounded by Titleist before we finish off the whole thing of Titleist until they release their next lot. And if we got any updates as to understand at what point they're going to be here? Have you heard anything on the interweb water?
The next models? No.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm thinking August, September. So
yeah, I mean,
a month or so to wait.
I think they teased what they teased just to get initial impressions, and then they'll put everything back under wraps for a bit until they figure out what the best marketing strategy is.
Well, I mean, marketing strategy got to be. I have to think of a tagline. Has to be better than last time.
Or last time was a long time ago.
Well, yeah, not for me. Actually, just done it. But yeah, well, we'll get into the Titleist chat and stuff. But there was a very quick one. This is off the top of my head. This is some Discord. Well, Andy, you might be able to, because I can't look at Discord because at the moment, unless you can look at Discord, can you? Whilst we're still doing our bits. Yeah, you know how to do that. I don't. I put out to the T-Box on Discord, going to be doing a live. If anyone wants to chat about anything specific, just say. And I did get a reply straight away, and I haven't looked at it since. So, do you know what it's about? MMTs, and did you see that one?
Oh, well, yeah, the person said that their flex is between right between X and S. And then you would fit into an X Flex driver.
75X, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then 105 SMMTs on the irons.
Okay, so it's an interesting difference between the two. Very, very close in weight, where normally there is generally speaking, especially for a faster swing speed, there would be a bigger difference between the weight of the shaft on the driver and the weight of the shaft of the iron, as a general rule.
Yeah.
But I mean, the MMT is a unique shaft anyway, so it is not like a classic graphite shaft.
Yeah, they're stiffer tip. They're a slightly stiffer tip than your average graphite shaft.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm still thinking potentially there's a massive difference between a 75X on his driver.
Yeah, I mean, it's the black, it's not the white. You know, it's not the white, so it's the tenside black. So the tenside black isn't as tip stiff. So, you know, so you take out a slight bit of tip stiffness in the black model, and then, you know, and then the 105S and the MMTs is a little more tip stiff. So it probably balances out in the wash that it's not that much of a bigger difference.
I know he said about the difference between the stiff and extra stiff, and really every single bend profile EI curve graph that I see on any particular model, the differences between the regular, the stiff and the extra stiff relatively is quite small. I don't really see much in the way of massive jumps up the scale.
Yeah, no, the EI, the area under the EI curve is usually only 1 or 2 points maximum between flexes. So yeah, like there's more difference in a model than there is in the S and X usually. So
yeah, hugely.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not like these two shafts are different. You know, like the Modus 105 steel. Right? As they go from R, S, and X, they're actually 3 completely different profiles. It's not the same profile getting slightly stiffer. It's 3 completely different profiles. Whereas these two are very similar profiles, just slightly stiffer overall.
Modus are an interesting company on that one. On that Modus 105 to the Modus 120.
Yes.
I mean that, like,
it's not even the same ballpark.
Yeah, I can understand if they had different models of just different weights and they tried to keep bend profiles sort of kind of fairly similar-ish, but to not call it something completely different I could understand them having a 105, 115, a 120, or what they're going to do, but then moderate the bend profiles to sort of go up the curve as they're going along, but then have a completely different model for a completely weird and different bend profile, but they got weird different bend profiles.
It's weird because like they made the 120 and the 130 straight off the bat, didn't they? And those two are completely opposite profiles almost, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 105 comes out, and the 105 is a very linear profile, much like your standard KBS Tours, your Dynamic Golds, and then they did release a 115 and a 125, which are more like the 105, but the 120 and the 130 just call them something else. They're not
It's a weird thing. That's why shafts are a nightmare. They are just an utter. When people start talking about shafts and they have these massive long conversations online about shafts, you can quote everything, but it's how the golfer in question reacts to that shaft, which is far more important, and you need to test than just looking at a piece of paper and reading on the internet what this shaft is going to do, because it may well do the opposite. Right, so very quickly, do you, I'll tell you what, I won't block, there we go, I won't block you, I'll block me out this time so people can see you.
Great.
Do you believe if 5 was best and 0 was worse on the point scale of feel and looks, that, okay, feel you may not be able to because I don't know if you've hit all of them, but on the look side, the orange, this is the fun side of the objectivity, as in I like something and other people may not. I have got effectively the 620 CB, T100, 150, 200, 350 and 400 going across, and as they go along they get progressively worse, with the slight exception of the T200. I've done that right way around, haven't I? Yeah, I've done that wrong way around. Doesn't matter. I think the T200 looks better than it feels. I need to flick those round, by the way. There you go. I need to do a bit of swapsies. More homework for me.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's the T100. I think I don't know if there's enough difference between. I mean, like I said, I haven't hit the 100 and the 150 in comparison. I don't know if there's that much difference as that would suggest between the two. I read online that people talk about the 150 being like the miracle club compared to the 100, and I just can't see it on paper. I can't see any difference whatsoever.
Well, on the launch monitor, you can't tell at all. They're basically within reason.
And it's like 1 mil longer, and it's half a mil thicker. It's like there's just, I don't know what that's bringing to the table that the 100 doesn't.
I mean, okay, it does change certain metrics because it is slightly bigger. It launches slightly better and such.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. There you go. You can see how it launches slightly better, but it's not exactly what you'd call miraculous. Compare that to the T400 and it's but then again, I suppose if you were going to be blending the T150 and the T100, T150 long irons, absolutely that's going to launch better. That's going to be in the realm of giving you back some functionality to your long irons, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very, like, you're getting down in the nitty gritty of optimization. There's not a significant change to justify one over the other, but you're in that very narrow window where you're right on the speed limit of the 100, right? And that little bit of speed and that little bit of launch at the 150 could be it to give you what you need, I guess. But
well, I mean, I don't know, but it's the interesting thing on that is the fact that we've already seen how the launch is better on the T150. So again, long iron potentially work exceptionally well. But whether this is CG difference or not, here's the face speed graphic. You can see here that actually the T100 is slightly faster. I mean, when I say slightly faster, it is 1.53 to 1.52, so it's hardly anything. But is that the CG lowering on the actual T100?
It would have to be, right? Yeah, if you lower the CG, you lower the fastest possible position out of the face because, if it's right behind the center, you're going to get the maximum possible face speed, and if it's slightly lower, it just takes a hair off the face speed, and like you said, difference between 1.53 and 1.52. Is that 1.522 and 1.531, and
Oh, you could tell us.
I don't know. Yeah, I could go look, but we're talking like plus or minus half. So
yeah, it's like nothing, well within. But then with that difference in center of gravity, so launch factor, so the 150 does launch better than the T100, so again, perfect blending. The face speed is within reason, it's near on, yeah. But then you get the classic face spin rate. The T150 spins fractionally lower. This is loft for loft adjusted, so it's not a case of, oh yeah, the T150 is going to spin lower anyway because it's a couple of degrees stronger than that of the T100. This is loft for loft adjusted, so this is effectively head gearing that we're seeing. But they all do an incredibly good job all the way, and this is the one thing that you and I spoke about when we did all the tests for this. We got all the data, we number crunched a lot, and one of the outstanding thing that we saw from the T-series was just how well they spin.
Yeah, and it's it's an outlier from about everything else. Normally if you get the higher launching stuff, it always drops the spin rate. But these, it must be something to do with the material of the face. We know grooves don't affect flat base spin rate all that much.
Yeah.
Unless in like the odd occasional weird strike that hits on a groove that's right over a dimple and stuff like that, but that's like 1 in 100. So I don't know exactly what they're doing. I mean, from what I've read on the rules is there's a maximum grippiness that you can have a face at, and the only difference is then once you have whatever you set the grippiness as, it has to be the same across the whole face. So whatever they're doing, I guess they just have a slightly grippier face.
Well, they've got to be within regulation anyway. Has to be.
Yeah, but I'm saying in some other clubs, if they're chasing distance, they're actually maybe lowering the spin to chase distance, and I guess they just decided that we're going to put the maximum.
Yeah, because we've found this on a few different irons now, but there seems to be the correlation. The big one is high launch, low spin heads, because the center of gravity is lower and the head actually flexes. So then you get your launch factor, but then you get that reduction gearing in spin.
Yeah.
And you get these ones that have that lower center of gravity, but it doesn't seem to then gear as much. So you get a certain amount of increase, but then without the reduction of the spin.
Yeah, I mean, and they probably, if you look at how the shape of them, right? They've got that really thick bottom and a very thin top line, and it's probably just something to do with how the MOI balances on that iron, that it's not, it's the gear effect. It's not getting any gear effect reduction or limited gear effect reduction.
I was surprised. That was one thing that popped into my head as being singularly the most impressive thing from my point, was the fact that generally speaking you will see a reduction of spin as launch factor goes up.
Yeah.
Exactly
and
the same.
You can see why they'd work for a good ball striker, right? It gives you if you're a good ball striker, it definitely gives you exactly what you want. Maximizing distance and spin.
That's really good.
We don't really track spin consistency as a metric, but
yeah, that's a good point. Could we?
It's possible. It's harder when you're dealing with slightly different deliveries, but.
Yeah, we'll have to have a conversation about that one. A lot easier when the robot makes its appearance.
Yeah, I think right now the margin of error is probably as equal to the difference between things. So you got 2% margin of error, and your dispersion is only 10%. You're talking about things start butting up against each other.
Yeah. So. We know how well they do in certain areas when it comes to its either its face speed, its launch factor, its face spin rate, or anything else like that. One thing these don't do very well is be very forgiving. It's possibly
it's a little disappointing. The fact that the 100, obviously the muscle back, the 620 cavity back, muscle back, whatever is gonna, one piece forging. It's hard to make it super forgiving across the face, so you rule out that one as being super forgiving. But then the T100 does a decent job. But
although saying that, it's the second best for loss.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, this is loss per millimeter. So you got 0.21% on there as the 620 CB. That is effectively not the blade, but it is it's as close as you're really going to get.
Yeah. Anyway. I'm not saying you expect it to be great, but I mean, I guess it's a slower face, so it's going to be more consistent. But
and then the best one from heel. And that's got to be center of gravity. It's got to be the sweet spots moving slightly towards the heel because of the short blade length relative to the big hosel and blah, 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 I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But then...
Boy, that T200.
Yeah, the T200 is... I mean, on this one, the T400 doesn't look good from heel strikes at all, but then more than it makes up for it when it comes to toe and low. But the T200, it just does, badly. All the way through, it just does badly. But then, what do you do?
Yeah, and like you could argue, like you were saying, well, it's a distance iron, but boy, it's not a very pretty looking distance iron, and it's not a very fast distance iron.
Hey, it's got a bit of chrome on it.
You would think that's the one club that they would drop the spin rate on to try and give you the distance, but no, that's the spin rate.
Yeah, it's not great, I must admit. It was a bit of a disappointment for me on that one. But again, at the end of the day, it is what it is. It is a player's distance iron, which is notoriously difficult to actually get any form of forgiveness consistently on, because again, they're trying to make the face as fast as they possibly can do, and that causes issues in itself. But I mean, if you go toe, this shows how good the T400 on low, look at that. I mean, it is equal. Is that near enough equal to the CB?
Yeah.
But then when you go like that, that's incredibly good. That is one of the best, isn't it, from the toe, the T400?
Yeah.
One of the best.
I think when we were first breaking down the data, it started to shine, just those shots just off the toe just weren't dropping smash factor at all. I think we were doing that one live, or we were talking when you were doing that one.
Yeah, and again, T200, not good. Not good, unfortunately. But what do? It's the results, and you'd like to obviously showcase everything as positive as you can do, obviously, because the whole idea for me is not to poo-poo anything for poo-pooing's sake. It's just to show the data, and if the data's the data, then there you go. But all over the face, you can see the T200 loses the most, and by, double the amount. It's just not.
Yeah, so much so that you have to look at the sheet when you start thinking, oh, did something go wrong here? But everything pointed in the same direction. It just lost from every direction pretty quickly.
I did lots and lots of shots. I probably hit with the T200. I probably hit more shots than I've. Or a lot of them, because the information we were getting from the T200 was just so bullseye-like in its forgiveness. It just was not. It was out the middle, works really quite well. It's got a decent face speed. It launches the ball relatively well. It's got for a golfer that hits out the middle, the T200 is an amazing, lovely golf club, but it just doesn't do other things well at all. Like be consistent from when you don't hit the middle. So I'm looking forward to the new T-series. Well, I'm not, because it's going to be expensive, but I'm looking forward to get them, and then I will get all the data and get all the compares done, the normal compares that I'd like to do, and then I'm going to sell them, try and make some money back from the old and the new irons, because again, once all of the compares have been done, all the reviews have been done, I don't need them anymore, and because I bought them out of my own money, it's time to try and get some money back if I can. But that's
nobody's going to want that T200. They've seen how good that one specifically. They know exactly how it performs.
I should have said when I've done this, green everywhere. They're amazing golf clubs, and plus I've got a couple of 7-irons if anyone wants them. Yeah. But it is what it is, isn't it? That's the thing. It is the data. It is one of those things, and unfortunately, what can you do? You do the test like you do every single other one. You put the information straight into the heat map tech, and it pops it out. And if it looks, I get a feeling straight away when I'm hitting any kind of iron, and I will get to a point of where I hit it, and then I'll kind of get a feeling for it. I'll put the information into the heat map data, and then basically, and you and I will have a conversation. If I look at something, I go, that doesn't look right, that doesn't feel right. But the reason why you and I had the conversation when it comes to T200 was, this is really bad. This is not good at all. Am I doing this? Have I done something wrong here or something? Because it's terrible.
You know, it's the same thing with like when you add, and then you know you have the initial data set, you know, and then you run a whole new data set, and it comes out exactly the same. And, you know, and then you combine all the shots together, and it's exactly the same. And like you rule out any kind of, you know, oh, we've messed up kind of thing.
Well, you try and look at something and say, look, has quad on one particular shot misread something, which then would potentially affect all the other data. I mean, we check all that through on every single one, but it's generally speaking, you have to have like this was a consistent. You have one outlier, just shine straight away. Bing. Okay, yeah, quad misread that one. Delete that. Everything's back there. No worries. This was just shocking everywhere. It was terrible. So I'm really hoping that the new T-series are better, especially the T200 replacement. I really hope that is better. I would prefer if all manufacturers stopped with their players' distance iron. Either they marketed it better, and I think this is media. This is YouTube's fault. This is Golf Pro's fault. This is online publications' fault. All of these different things are all. I don't necessarily think it's the manufacturer's fault, because they actually labelled these players' distance irons. They did not label these players' forgiveness irons. Yet for some reason the golfing public sees them as players' forgiveness irons.
Yeah, it's like it's you know, when you really sit down and think about how could they possibly make an iron faster and more forgiving at the same time? It's just like it obviously boggles the mind, because then why isn't there baseline iron like that? Why isn't that the baseline iron? It's because it's not, they can't do it. I
mean, you can make the middle fast, but then you have to then make off-center effectively illegal if it was the middle. But then you run into very quickly a potential for breakage. I mean, the amount of manufacturers that have gone for speed and more speed with variable face thickness and stuff, and had faces cave in and break and fail, because they're trying to do that very thing. They're trying to make the middle as thin as they can do to get the maximum COR. Pump it out there, but then they want to try and retain ball speed when they're near the middle. You have to make those. There's only two things you can do. You can move the center of gravity over to a certain side to try and make one side more forgiving, but then you then compromise the other side, or you have to try and make the rest of the face so ridiculously thin, so effectively that would be illegal if it was the middle, to try and get that spring back again, and then you get into the problems of failures. Right, what have we got when it comes to the Chatteroo? CBO1, he was the winner. Carl was second. Definitely Carl was second. Look, as you can see, Carl got in there. AZPR said second. Said no, I'm third. Just missed the podium, Niels did. Yes, you did, fella. Carl said, where's the Math Nut bin? Math Nut bin, he has been trying to stay away from the heat. Hot where you are, isn't it?
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
I mean, it's like there's plenty of places that are hotter, but not also, you know, not 7 and 80% humidity, which kind of suck.
That's nearly raining. So, AZPR said shaft is used to dial in dispersion, question mark. Maybe you have a video surrounding this. Definitely not me. I am definitely not the person to be given any form of shaft that does this video, because for me, shaft does nothing video. It just connects one end to the other. But on the whole,
lateral dispersion definitely. I mean,
well,
you will go if the shaft's going to matter to you. It's the biggest thing it's going to do for you is lateral dispersion.
So for shaft, changing, it's an interesting one. So we're not breaking this down into any other than the umbrella of shaft. So you can change a swing weight by changing the shaft and create a completely different pattern of everything. You can change the bend profile of the shaft quite considerably, and it will change where the golfer feels. But again, a lot of it is to do with swing weight and understanding where that mass is in 3D space and where it's aligned. Swing weight swing weight in itself is a bigger thing to worry about than raw shaft. Personally, I think. What I'm looking at, first of all, for me, I don't care when it comes to myself personally, because I can run a C9 to, I can't remember, C6 to D9. Can't remember, I've done the test before, makes no difference. But most 99% of people, swing weight is massive. I'm talking it can make the difference in you striping everything relatively well every single time to hitting it off the planet. And shafts will do that, but it won't do that if you could keep every single shaft that you put in there at the same swing weight, if that makes sense. So it's probably a combination of both. Doctor. Nice. Hi, Golf AskGolfNut.
Thompson twins, right?
Yeah, so Doctor says, hi, Golf AskGolfNut. Hi, AskGolfNut. Appreciate your work you do. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you watching. Carl says, they say this cat shaft is a bad mother. Huh? Oh, Carl,
that sentence is a bad mother.
Yeah. Zebra One, I will listen back in the morning. Keep up the good works. Well, thank you very much for being first. Go up a bit more. No, we were good. We got the Felix. Basically, Felix says, I heard that the outline of the new new T200 is a little bigger than the actual one. Physical size, that'd be an interesting one. Generally speaking, if you look at what most people ask for, they always ask for something small. I mean, look what Srixon did with the ZXi4 Mark II or ZX4 Mark II against the ZXi4. I understand that companies have to react to what people want, and like with Srixon, the main thing that they wanted with the 4 was it to be smaller. But unfortunately, when you go that much smaller, you potentially affect how the iron works, which is what they did with the ZXi4. Still a decent iron, no problem whatsoever. And it was really the fact that the ZX4 Mark II was such a blooming good one that caused the issue. If they'd have just made the ZX4 Mark II crap, or just at least like mediocre, the i4 would have been amazingly good.
Yeah, you can't, they're expecting, leaps and bounds above that club was just not going to happen. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think the best thing you could have done ever from trying to get not Rob and Peter pay Paul, just literally Rob and Peter and just keeping the money completely.
Right, you would have just made the same iron and just made it shinier.
Well, I mean, from my point, yeah. But if you could have made it the same size as the i4, smaller than ZX4 Mark II, but keep every single characteristic that the Mark II had, it would have been an amazing achievement. And I'm not saying they won't do it. I mean, I just think that Srixon need a little bit more time.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to the next
consensus that it was slightly less forgiving than the old one. But if you look at actually what they did, completely new material.
Yes.
Stripped as much size out of it as they could.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
To even come close to the original was actually quite an achievement. Although the sales might not reflect that because,
I think I've got a feeling that the ZXi4 will sell as well as the Mark II. because generally speaking, if you look at the vast majority of all of the golf club sales that Srixon will do with the ZXi4, only a certain proportion of those ones will be people that have watched the stuff that we do and looked at the website and actually looked how they perform. And they are going to be they're going to be put in the hands of the fitter at that time, and the fitter is going to be saying whatever they need to say to get the people across the line so they can get the money and then get their commission. So, we'll see.
Yeah, it's just on the 4. I just don't see the people talking about it. I see a lot of people talking about blending 5s and 7s into a set. That sounds like a good idea. But just I never see much talk about the 4, even though obviously the Mark II was just like, Jesus Christ, you could buy that iron as a beginner and never ever swap it out.
It was brilliant.
Just, why would you?
It was really, really good. Mark the Puma says, so many people swear by their T-series irons, which is crazy to see when we look at your testing. It's all quad testing.
I can see why people would love them. There's nothing. If you're a decent golfer, they just seem great.
Oh, but,
yeah. They're not the softest things in the world.
No, that was the one thing that did sort of strike me straight away. When I was 620 CB, I got that one out. First of all, it is the one-piece forging. It's going to be, apart from the MB, but they're made from the same stuff. So effectively, it is basically exactly the same. And straight away, I noticed it doesn't feel bad. It's just that it doesn't feel what I was expecting. I was expecting something like that to feel like the first time back in the day when I've hit Wilson irons, Wilson blades and stuff, and they feel lovely. And even the sub 70 irons that I've hit in the past feel lovely. The Callaway irons, the 2018 MB, the chrome one, lovely, just feels lovely. You go to this and, that's a bit higher pitch crack than I was expecting, bit crisp. It's fine, because all it is a spectrum of what people like, but it wasn't necessarily something that I personally liked, because again, I like the soft feeling. But if you hit them out the middle, T100, T150, T200, T350, T400, 620 CB, if you hit them out the middle, really, they are very good golf clubs. The only thing that some of them, T200
what club isn't really good out of the middle?
Exactly.
Aren't good out of the middle.
The 3DP.
Yeah, it's not like it's a little bit lower than the middle. It's really, really good.
Oh dear. So that's the reason why a lot of people swear by their T-series irons. And of course, generally speaking, people don't like to poo-poo their own purchase. But Felix says, and other YouTuber reviewer label them as forgiving because other YouTubers don't test them the way that the AskGolfNut channel tests. As in, most people will hit them 10 times, 12 times on a course, maybe a 3 or 4 shots on screen when it comes to the simulator. And that's about it. And someone will even say, I hit that one really bad. I hit that one really off the toe. That's done so well, with no proof whatsoever of where they've just hit it. This is the problem with transparency.
And that's the thing with if we base the review just on the shots you hit on camera, all of them hit the green, and all of them really don't roll off the green that much.
Not all of them.
But like some of them, you know, it's obviously you maybe close the face too much and it curves up, but whatever. Like that would seem to suggest that all irons are roughly the same, because in the general time point, there's not many times you miss the green, but you know that's because you're already limiting the negatives for the impact, right? You're consistent club head speed, consistent face to path, right? So those all variables are mostly gone. So now you just literally, it's just the miss on the face, and that's what's causing those disparities. And you know,
and it's the thing. It's the classic thing of why I've had it all through the years, and they've always said, why don't you get, was that a little fly? Go and get you, it's only a small one. Why don't you get an amateur golfer to test? Why do I want to hit shots into a simulator or see shots sitting out on the golf course and hit the green and basically watch someone play golf, when they really want a handicapped golfer to test the golf club to see how good the golf club is? And that is the trick. They couldn't, because unless you are measuring them, and of which it would take them forever to hit, I mean, the heat map tech does all the adjustments. Any kind of differences that I have in face to path, which generally speaking is fairly minimal. I have my days, but the heat map tech does all the hard work in trying to do the maths to balance everything out. Take this out, small little bits here and there. You did that with a amateur golfer whose face can be 10 degrees off at any given point. You're really asking the tech to work really, really hard. And of course, as soon as you start then having to multiply out much more in the way of error to try and balance it, you then introduce, can't help it, natural other errors, and they compound the bigger the error is. And so it's...
You know, and it's the same thing with their swing speed, right? So let's say they do hit one out of the middle, but that one they were like 3 or 4 miles an hour slower. That's enough speed difference to make the miss hit go the same distance.
Oh, 3 or 4 miles an hour is small.
Not because this club was forgiving, it was because the one they hit good, they swung slower, and the one they miss hit, they swung faster, and they end up going the same distance. That's not a forgiving club. That's a inconsistent delivery.
A handicapped golfer, and I would say anyone around, let's put a ballpark number, 18 and up, can be 10% in their swing speed out.
Yeah.
Easily. That's not either way. But, you know what I mean? But they can easily be 10% out. Well, 7 miles an hour for a 70 mile an hour swing speed is not a lot, but 7 miles an hour is a huge amount. So 3.5 miles an hour one way, 3.5 miles an hour on the other, easily be out. And I'm being kind when I say 3.5 miles an hour plus or minus. They can be far more than that, 5 or 6 miles an hour out. But this is why you can't do that. If you really want to know how it works, you can't.
Wouldn't tell you anything. No, I'm just saying it wouldn't tell you anything. You couldn't judge it. Anyway.
You are right. You're 100% right. There are so many different variables. Their inability to control face to path, that is nothing to do with the golf club. That is absolutely to do with them. Their inability to strike the golf ball anywhere close to the middle. On some strike locations that they hit, shanks, etc., toe shanks and stuff like that, no golf club on the planet is going to help that. They struggle to deliver the correct dynamic lie, and so depending on what surface they're hitting on, etc., that you're talking about noise of the data, because the toes come into the ground and dig in anyway, they hit the ground first. There are so many things that you can't just math out. You can't just use a little bit of maths here, a little bit of maths there to try and get rid of that. You have to have...
Says you.
Well, yeah, I'm not being fun. You are the math nut. You're not the math god. So, yeah, it can't be done. Not unless if you don't really, you want someone's feedback. They hit a shot, 5 shots, 10 shots, whatever it be, and then they give an opinion, then absolutely fine. Yeah, no worries whatsoever. That is just an opinion. That's no different to listening to me prattle on about looks and feel of a golf club. What I like, what you like, could be two completely different things. Felix says, cannot watch any other review videos anymore. Thanks, AGN. Of course you can do. You can let me know if anyone else is copying my stuff. Hashtag not bitter at all. Mark the Puma says 99 here in MI, Michigan.
I struggle with the M ones. It's either Michigan, Missouri, yeah, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Missouri, Miami, but that's not a state, is it? So, in the US, it's 99 at one point. 99, I'm assuming he's not talking about a flake. That's Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 36.
Is it?
Yeah.
fairly warm then. Carl said, this is a good time to be stuck inside with the air conditioning working, hopefully. Yes, it is. You're absolutely right. It was 32 in the UK on Saturday. And yes, I had a busy day on Saturday getting very, very hot. Very, very hot. Adam says, thoughts on mini driver to 20 degrees hybrid gap. Trying to figure out if I should go forward 3 hybrid or keep the mini driver 108 miles an hour swing speed. As long as you don't want it for any form of fairway shot, functional fairway shot, if it works, go for it. As a tee shot.
I think he's saying is I have a mini driver and I have a 20-degree hybrid. And he needs to know what the gap, if something should be in the gap in between that.
Oh.
Because a mini driver, I mean...
Well, it depends. 13 degrees, just 13 to 14 or so degrees, dependent. Why would you need one?
Speed of 108 on the mini driver is probably going, what, 265 carry?
Or that, no, it would, no, less than that. Definitely less than that, because of the inefficiencies of, because you're going to be looking at higher spin rates. You're going to have to start delivering or cranking that thing down to get it into the driver zone. If you could get a 10 or a 9 degree driver and then get in that window, possibly 260, 265 maybe. But yeah, mini driver, you're going to be...
And a 20-degree hybrid at 108 is probably 210.
You're not far
12.
off. Well, 108, what would it, if that was 108, I'm assuming 108 with mini driver. Take a few off for the...
high 90s, maybe 100, 101.
Yeah, 10, hang on, what am I? 102, 103, yeah, yeah, low 100s. So then I wouldn't. Like, if you're going to be that accurate, where you're going to be hitting something 250 yards out, 260 yards out, and you wanted something to gap that. I mean, yes, if you've got a golf course that you play all the time and you have got a specific hole where you always seem to have a wrong gap, then yes. But under normal conditions, I would just that for me would be absolutely fine, really. The faster you swing, the bigger the gaps. Say again?
I'm the exact opposite. I like really small gaps in my long clubs.
Do you know? I'm bottom dense. I don't mind having a big gap between, say, my driver and my 3-wood. My normal gaming 3-wood, it's fairly short compared to. It can be up to, in the air, 50 yards short of my driver.
Yeah, you see, I struggle with taking speed off. So with my swing, it's either all or nothing. So it's either like with my 5 hybrid going like 210, and then 4 going 225, and then 240, and then the 3 woods are going 250 and 270. I like those 15-yard gaps up top.
So I've said this for years. Unless you are really good, like very, very good, just accept. Most people are so hilarious because they are a 27 handicap or a 22 handicap, whatever it would be, and they're fixated over this gap at the top of their bag of 20 yards or even 30 yards. Let's call it 30-yard gap now they've got, and they want something to get in between. They want a 15-yard gap between whatever it is and whatever it is. Yet they can miss their target by 60 yards left and right. Yet they want 15 yards gap? No, that's not, no.
It's because I don't want to chip. It's because I never want to chip. I never want to be short and I never want to be long, so I want to be the right amount.
Yeah, but see, you're as accurate with your wedge at 100, or your lob wedge at 110 yards or whatever it would be, than you are from about 10 yards off the green. You are one of these weirdos on that side, Andy. You definitely are. Your short game is definitely not up to the same scratch as what your rest of your game is.
Yeah, honestly, I could put, from 150 yards, I would put the ball closer than I would from 30 yards every single time.
Yeah, that shouts out you need practice.
Man.
Not at the lob wedge, the
I can't
closer at the green.
practice chipping. I can't practice chipping. No launch monitor is ever accurate enough for chipping practice. Yeah, but I don't have 15,000 to spend on.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's a lot of that's an expensive practice.
Well, it is. Yes, it is. It definitely is. Although they do hold their money. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's an investment.
Yeah, they resell for almost as much as you paid for them.
Yeah. So, but there you go. So, right, what have we got? Carl says no love for John Shaft. It's going back to that cat thing again, isn't it? That I still haven't got. So, that's another one that's gone straight over my head. You're gonna have to dumb it down further, Carl, for that one. Mark says Srixon just needs to start 3D printing. Every brand seems years behind Cobra. They are.
Yeah.
They are.
I mean, I keep thinking about the Aerojets, and I look at the Aerojets, and I look at what the data that came out of them. You know, that 82-degree launch factor off, off a 26-degree iron. It plays like a 30-degree iron, yet it goes absolutely ballistically far.
Is that a legacy set, or did I hit that multiple times?
No, we didn't have that set. You went back and re-hit those.
So I re-hit all the. I'm about to say I can't remember. You can remember far better than me when it comes to these.
Yeah, things. That was a new data set.
So very quickly for the people that don't know, the difference in the heat map tech is early days, very early days, when we, Andy, created the heat map tech. All of the new, effectively, all the new products going forward from that time were going to be done, all the data dumped straight into the heat map tech. To get heat maps for all of the other irons that we had done in the past, or I had done in the past when it comes to reviewing, it was a case of trying to gain as much information from the videos. So looking at the number side of the video when we look at the toe shots, the heel shots, low shots, etc., and middle ones. And then also grabbing the information from the shots on camera. And of course, the shots on camera can be either helpful or not. Not very helpful if I hit the middle every single one, it's not very helpful whatsoever. So effectively that would be wasted data. But the ones that we did have enough data to get a rudimentary heat map for, we put into legacy. And effectively what we did on a number of irons after that is that we basically done a test bench for, I think, was it the CB, the Staff CB wasn't on from Wilson. We did the 243, did we? We done multiple ones, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just look the Aerojet. The Aerojet has 20+ shots, so, and it's a full data set. It's full quad export and export. So
yeah. So, and that's what we found out by doing more shots. Effectively, what we saw from all that extra effort, that the heat map changed by a matter of a couple of percent. And in a heat map, obviously, of that bigger heat map, 1, 2, 3%, you don't see it. It looks basically exactly the same. And so you do that on enough different models to see, okay, we've only got a data set of seven different shots. We've got one center strike, we've got 2 heels, 1 toe, 1 low. We've only got these small amount of shots. Is that going to work? Oh, I don't know. We'll put it in there, and then we do it after the fact, do a new data set, and basically it's come out so close. You think that's pretty good. So yeah.
But like look at the tech. I was just saying, Roberto, because of the tech that they did then to get that thing to launch that high off the loft that they gave it. It's not fast. People think that they made them super fast. The face speed is relatively low, but it just does what it uses. It's the functionality of how they built it to get the distance, rather than
Well, I'm feeling there's been certain manufacturers and certain brands that have done this over the passage of time, and they've took the whole idea of consistency, or what people see as forgiveness, and what we call it as well, but is effectively face consistency or ball speed retention. Is that rather than trying to push, what most brands do, they're trying to push faces to the ultimate level of failing to get the maximum speed out of. what some brands or models in the past have done is seemingly made the middle fractionally slower. So adding thickness to the middle so it doesn't rebound as much, so it's not as fast off the middle, which means you can do the exact same thing when it comes to as normal, keep the rest of it at the same thickness, not go super thin so you risk failing or cracking the surface, and then you've instantly got a much more consistent head. Yes, it's not the fastest one in the world, it's not going to beat the distance wars, etc. But for pure consistency point of view, it's brilliant.
Yeah. But you can kind of see where their thought process was with that club. You know, that's what took them down the line of, okay, how do we take this and take the next level? And that's where they ended up getting 3D printing from. They knew what they wanted to make the club, and it just wasn't possible in, you know, forging or, you know, casting, and that's but they knew what they wanted to do based on the work they did with the Aerojet and then the dark speed.
And it's only the likes of Cobra, I think, that would have ever done it, because Cobra are the perfect blend of money and mental. Well, they're crazy. Cobra have done some crazy stuff. They've painted some like horrifically colourful drivers in their time, but they're wealthy enough that they can do it, and they're crazy enough to think it.
Yeah.
And so,
I mean,
perfect.
And then the 1 year turnaround. You know, some people complain about their 1 year turnaround and they think they know that if they make something that isn't something is they're not like saying that, not saying that they're throwing out garbage, but something that went in the wrong direction and didn't come out quite the way they wanted. Within a year, they've got the next thing out that could have gone in the right direction. So
yeah, I mean, if they could have literally just done the same thing with the Titleist T200, it'd have been fixed already. But that has a multiple year life cycle, and that's the thing. But no, that's what they do. And I'm not a great fan. I've never been a great fan. I've always said this throughout the passage of the years that I've ever been on live streams or even videos, that I am not a great fan of this incessive want for replacing irons and equipment every single year. It doesn't need to happen as long as the equipment that they're making is actually good. And if it's not, then...
Or it's different. I mean, like look at the T100s. You know, the T100. The current T100 was no different than the previous T100, and I'm not sure the next T100 would be any different than the current T100.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
We will find out. Carl, very quickly, any murmurs of additional OEMs plan to release 3D printed ours? I haven't heard it.
Nothing.
I haven't heard anything. I have had murmurs.
So long. You know, the setup.
Oh, it does.
The setup and
oh my word.
The manufacturing process to get a facility set up to do that in bulk, in quantity. You could do a limited edition run, but
Oh, the cost of that would be mental. You can understand why the Limit 3D really expensive. You can get it.
I pay S-Taper 120s.
Oh, Carl J26. Go on, mate, you say it.
Alright, I play S-Taper 120 irons. I've been inconsistent with the 115 stiff wedge play. I tried using wedge with 130X S-Taper. Is it a shaft problem, or I need more practice with my wedge?
Well, you can fix this. I play 120 dollar tapers 120s. Great choice. I say that because I've got the same ones in my irons. I just like the dollar. That's the only reason I got the shaft, because it says dollar on it. There you go. I've been inconsistent with my 115 stiff wedge play. Change them out for the 120s. I tried a used wedge with a 130. It was better. Yeah, even chipped in. That's luck more than anything else. I mean, you've got to do half the job, but effectively, if from any distance away that's past a point of where you'd be confident with a putter, it's fortune more than anything else. However, I would initially just put your same shafts in that you got in your irons and your wedges.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like if you're chipping with the shaft, you're never loading the shaft. Even if you were playing like a 90 gram regular flex, at chipping speed, it's not bending. You
No.
know, unless you're digging in the ground and like that's causing it to twist. But that that you're definitely not loading a 120S, let alone a 130X. I mean,
You're not.
I
No,
even
there's no load at all. No.
even if I full swing a wedge shaft, a 35, let's say it's a 35-inch wedge shaft, I don't think I could swing hard enough to bend a 130X. I think it would just be completely straight
Yeah,
the
I
whole
mean,
way.
the dollar taper is not the stiffest of profiles, but you are right. I
No,
mean,
no.
I would absolutely, I would be going down the route of sticking everything for consistency in there. If you've got this constant I don't know in your head, if it's a shaft problem or not, you know your shafts work with your irons, and then moving that into your wedges, there is a seamless transition. There is not this step at any point. And by doing that, if you then continue to have problems, you know it's not the shaft, you know it's you. Keep
Yeah,
changing your shafts, you've got two things in your head. Is it you or is it the shaft?
I would think it comes down more that the changing between them is more about a total weight thing, how the club feels it from a weight perspective than a stiffness perspective.
Yep,
I
swing
bet you
weight is
could put
key.
I bet you could put an R flex shaft in there and just put a ton of weight on it, and it would probably feel like an X anyway because it's really not bending as much as you think it is.
Especially in a chipping, even a pitching action. It's not moving heavy enough, it's not moving fast enough for you to really offend any part of the shaft to notice a difference. So I'd put the same shafts in that you've got in your irons, get the consistency all the way through, then you know it's not a shaft thing. And if you then still struggle, it's technique. Right, what have we got? Mark said, hoping I am wrong, but it seems where golf should be going. Yes, the 3D printed idea is an amazing thing. I am a huge advocate for that. I think if they can get the processes quicker and cheaper, more importantly, and there are rumours of what is happening, I cannot say, but there is rumours of things happening next year. But again, we'll get to that one a later time. We're not allowed to say that.
Are we allowed to quote somebody else that's already posted something?
Say again?
Are we allowed to quote somebody else that's posted something somewhere else?
Is it on the internet?
Yeah.
Absolutely. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not saying it. If you say anything that anyone can freely read, is out there already.
Yeah, I read a post that there's a CB and an MB. There's a post outline saying that they've been told that there's a CB and an MB coming in the next year.
So what? And the 3DP?
Well, 3DP's out, right? The tour's out. I don't know what they're going to call it. All I know is
So yeah, but are they going to keep the 3DP and then run these CB and MB?
I mean, they're going to keep it for the time being, right? The 3DP is already a limited run. I think they've already made all the 3DPs that they're going to make. So.
There you go. If that is true, I'm fighting this decision, right? My decision at the moment, I am fighting this. I don't know what to do because these 3DPs are blooming amazing. They need polishing, obviously, but they are blooming amazing to the point where I have honestly thought about not playing my 241s and playing these instead. But the only thing that bothers me about these, me personally, not saying this is a good or a bad thing, it's just me personally, I've been so used now to blade lofts, blade gaps, blade everything, that the gaps between these are just slightly too big and it plays on my head. I don't like big gaps in my distance gap between my irons. I'm so used to having 12, 13 yards, and I don't think I could, I don't know.
Well,
Andy's desperate to say something.
Anything behind the rumors, If there's anything behind the rumors,
if
like
that's what's been
I
said
would say
online,
a holdout for the new ones, and then that set that you won't need anymore. I know where it's going.
yeah, on a cargo container near you.
Yeah, I'll cover all the shipping. Don't worry about it.
But if they can make the 3DP in a CB or an MB, if that's what Andy is saying that he's read on, I'm just literally just quoting what Andy just said that he's seen online. Other people have said it, not me. If that is the case, then I will be, and it is the same tech as the 3DP. So let's just argue a slight reduction in forgiveness, because if it is an MB, and if anyone has seen the size of the Cobra MB blade, it is rather small, isn't it, Andy?
Pretty small.
It's very small. It's lovely. And I will be on that faster than, well, there's quite a few things I could say, but they're probably, yeah, not till 9 o'clock. But yeah, they are really, I will be on that straight away. So, where have we got to? Carl J says, sup. Adam, thoughts on multi-irons for my beginner friend? I haven't tested them. I haven't used them. I hear lots of the TS3 gets spoke about a lot. I may well reach out, although depending on if they've seen the way we test irons.
Reluctant.
There might well be. There is a certain point, and this is the unfortunate thing that I've got myself into a little bit, is because the information that we glean from the heat map tech and quad and stuff is totally unbiased. It is totally independent. It is just me swinging a golf club. Quad doesn't care what golf club I'm swinging. The information is the information. The heat map is the heat map, regardless of what I personally like as an iron. I can have my personal feelings on it, no different to I've got my personal feelings on this 3DP. If they only chromed it, you'd be, oh, it's just lovely. But no, they didn't. Feel is very good and all that lot, but it's still not as good as a pure on blade, but pretty darn decent.
Yeah, I think are they good value for money? They seem good value for money. I mean, we've already seen though, like what the Vice beginner set, right? There is no better value for money than that. There is no better value than money for that. Like and no matter what, clubs aren't that cheap. Like they're still $90 each bill. So it's on the cheaper side. But you compare that to that set, those irons are like $30 a piece.
And they're good.
Yeah, very good. So
yeah. Really good. Their driver, I mean, I don't know how much that costs. £400, something like £400, isn't it? £420 or whatever it be.
Oh,
and that's that's equivalent to what? $500 ish. No, it's the same, isn't it?
It's $400 for us.
Which, if I bought it in America, the exchange rate at the moment is actually not bad, and I'd be paying £300 and something for it. It's just crazy. And the driver, if we're assuming that obviously you've got your grip, you've got your shaft, or whatever the shaft is, but yeah, and then you've got the head, you've got X amount of heads. How much is that driver? Really, out of that $400, how much does that driver? It must be the most expensive part of the lot, I'm guessing. But
I mean, drivers are normally 2.5 times the irons, right? So if you figure that, like that would put the driver at like $60, and the irons all at 30. It's
crazy.
It's like,
and how well it works. It's really very good.
For a beginner set, it's unbeatable. For a beginner to buy clubs, that's in a bag.
Yeah, you get a bag as well. The only thing I would like if they could have different options in the bag, either a cart bag or a stand bag, dependent. But it's really very, very good.
Beggars
True.
Can't be choosy.
So
and the meta beans are good. They seem good value for money. The claims that they're the most forgiving irons ever made, I can't comment.
Yeah, I think the multi irons. again, there's so many people that talk about them online and stuff like that. So at one point, I will reach out to them and see if they would send a 7-iron. That's all I care about, really. To be fair, that's all I need because I'm running out of room. So yeah, 7-iron only, please. Right, what we got? AZPR says, don't even know what my handicap is. I haven't played a real course yet. Too nervous. Don't be. Just go out there and have fun. Doesn't matter what your score is. Just enjoy it. It's a game.
Yeah.
Have fun.
I mean, if you're at a busy course where they won't let you play by yourself and you have to get paired up, that can be a little bit like a super scary thing. But you know, most of the golfers that are out there have been in that spot, and they know that they're not going to give you a hard time.
It was Michigan, and it is 37.2 degrees Celsius. That's hot. Chihu Audio Man, love that name. I've got the 3DPs, but only have 2 rounds in them. In with them. Feel is really good. Need more time with them and a consistent swing. Well, this is the whole thing. I suppose we spend all this time looking and evaluating all the equipment that's out there on the market, and at the end of it, it's still the golfer that has to swing it. So the biggest gains will always come from the golfer. Joachim Christofferson says, I've got my 3DP Tour irons today. Wow, what a club.
Yes.
Any more follow-up videos from guys 3DPs? It's a 3DP. They must have their own group by now, isn't it? The 3DPs. Although, hang on.
What did they say they were going to make? 2,400, 2,500 clubs? Something like that. Sets of the 3DP.
Yeah, wasn't it? It's something like 5 times the amount of the previous one. And obviously the limits were 500. And so, yeah. But from what I can understand, Cobra are working on processes to speed up and just magnify the production process, which will be good because obviously that means more sets are available, which also means prices will come down. And it also means there's potential that I would love to happen of where at one point, I'm not quite sure when it'll be, but at one point Cobra could then start moving into the realms of printing the head to suit the individual. Like if you said, I want them bent to this degree, you don't have to bend them, they're made to that stipulation. Lie angle, no different. And then also where I want the center of gravity. I want the 100 grams of tungsten, I want 74%, yeah, I want 74% there, 26%, yeah, 26% there, working up the math. You know, you can then change it around the head, change launch factor and everything. If you want a more penetrating ball flight, you can actually get that 100 grams of tungsten, but then move it and slightly up the head. There is so many different things you can do with these. You can actually then make a specific change in your 4 and 5 irons to get the center of gravity even lower. The world is the oyster of wonder with 3D printing. Carl J26 says he's right. I handle heavier weights better, always have. Most people, generally speaking, there was a joke that I'd already, I say joke thing, but I've spoke to many fitters over the years and conversations with them and chatting to young fitters as well, and they're picking my head, picking my brain about having experience and doing this and what should I do when I do that. What happens, or what process do I go through when I meet this situation and stuff like that. But one of the biggest things that I've kind of said to everyone is if you're gonna mess up, just go too stiff. You can create far, far too many problems by going too light and too flexy, but light more than anything else, than you can do by going too heavy. Now, of course, there's always a limit to that. But if you were on the precipice of going, oh, I'm not quite sure which one I should put him into the other one. There'll be, effectively all you're going to do is make someone, you might make them shorter, but you'll make them relatively straighter, or at least missing in one particular point. But that's a generalized rule. That's not the same rule for everybody. But again, you can't talk about every single individual. You can just say, look, if it's a blanket, you're going to make a mistake. Yeah. Make a mistake.
You already stated that you've narrowed it down to a couple of choices. It's not like you're saying always pick the heaviest thing. You're like, oh, should I go with this one or this one? Pick the heavier.
We've got the ladies flex. We've got the Graphite Ladies Flex 39 grams, or we've got the Scaffold Pole. Which one are we going to go with? No, we're talking about tiny differences of bits and pieces. We're down to there. We're in that little. Which one are we going to go for the heavy one? Right. Joachim, I hope your 3DP irons go well. Are there any follow-up videos for the 3DPs? I don't know. What can you make? What can you make? Joachim, come up with. Joachim, go on the Discord. So go on, the link is in the video description, or it's up there in the corner. Go on Discord, go into the tee box, and just come up with an idea. If you think you'd like to see a 3DP video, another one, why not? That other people would like to watch, not just any random, just do 15 minutes of me putting all the golf clubs across. It's like a scrolling generation game. DB Ryder, dear Lord, please deliver Mizuno 3D printed. As long as they can print chrome, I don't care. If they could do that, I'm on it. Loving that. H222, can 3DP heads be loft adjusted per a forge? Yes, they can. I'm reliably informed they can be tweaked in both loft and lie.
The process to make them is different, but they're still made out of the same materials. The hosel is still a solid piece of metal. It'll bend just like any other forged club will.
Yeah, because I mean that just kind of does this to the end, and then it goes round, 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 round a bit. It's one solid, effective piece. You can't bend it too much, but you can't bend. Well, you can. You can. There's some forge bends 6 degrees easily, but yeah, pings. It will never leave me watching a guy at the place where they make, well, not make the pings, but they assemble them at the factory. How they adjust the lie angle. With a massive, massive copper mallet, and they just whack it one. Brilliant. Alex, hello Alex, hope you are well. Nice to have you along. Howdy gents, Jay, mind holding a blade, EG241 next to the 3DP. Your wish, sir, is my command. Bear with. I'm assuming you want me to clean them first. You don't want to see fingerprints. Oh, I've got them here. Hang on a minute. I didn't prepare for this. I've got to go get the cleaning cloth. Oh my word! I'm getting too old to bend over like that. Oh.
I don't think he's going to be able to see the fingerprints from where he is.
But I can. Have to see. Got to look after your equipment. Always look after your equipment if you can.
You know, right. Polished club pins less, right?
That was worth it. That was worth it, wasn't it?
241.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can't. I can't see the difference between a 241 and a 245. They look very similar.
Just fatness. The 245 is fractionally less shiny. Yeah. Stay. Thank you. Right. Let's go get this one, and I'll give it the same treatment because I've got to be fair. Always clean your clubs. Right. So, 3DP. Not much in it. I would say 241 is marginally smaller. Sole thickness. Yeah, it's smaller. 241 is smaller. You can distinctly see it in the sole. Let's see if I can do it this way. 241, you can distinctly see it in the sole. Top lines. Yeah, 241 is smaller. It's probably about 2/3 of the thickness of the 3DP. I would absolutely, if Cobra are going to be making an MB version, oh, lovely. All they just need to do is shine it up a bit, make it chrome, make it shiny, and I'm there. But it's excuse me, YouTube winning pops. It's not that much difference. Honestly, there is not that much difference between the two. There is difference, absolutely, but not a huge difference at all. Chichu Audio Man, can you bend the 3DPs weak to gap them properly? You can do. That will change things like offsets and stuff like that. So that's why, going back to what I said, talking about I can't wait for them to be able to 3D print your irons to order, because then you haven't got then that messing around with offset changing when you bend them weak or strong. You can set them exactly as you wish, and they're 3D printed to that spec with the offset retained. Carl says, Jay, that is one sexy club. He meant the 241. Yeah, it is a very nice club. I still want them to chrome them. I know I have spent a little bit of time, I think right at the very start, as in polishing these to see if I could get them shine up a little bit, but I did all right. But yeah, have we seen the last of chrome?
Good, it's horrible.
I love a bit of chrome. I love chrome. Chrome's lovely. That's my opinion anyway. Everyone's different. That's the great thing with subjectivity. You can, everyone can have a different sort of opinion. It's absolutely fine. It would cost too much for the manufacturers to make different finishes readily available. No, of course they do, like black versions of certain things and stuff like that as limited edition runs and stuff. But it's the difficult thing when you're talking about individuals that have different feelings and thoughts and what they like to look at and what others don't.
So when Cobra makes them the muscleback chrome finish, I'm going to get them. I'm going to take them to my local powder coater and have them powder coated matte.
You are a sick individual. You need help. You really need help. Anyone, that's blasphemy. Anyone got anywhere close to doing anything like that? I mean, I've never seen the golfing gods strike anyone down at any one point, but I think if there's any that's going to happen then. That's shocking. Right. What is anything else you wanted to say? Because I'm just thinking it's now hour and 20 minutes nearly running in. So if you have something that you would like to say, by all means, Andy, pop up and pipe up, have a little. I'm just looking at
golf related,
where we
that
are.
is, right?
Or anything you want, to be fair, doesn't really matter, does it? Just so everyone's got everyone. Well, everyone, yeah, there's plenty to talk about if we were going to talk about politics, but no.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be nice to get the new Titleist through the door and see what's going on. I want to see what they've done. Heretic, blasphemy.
Yes, you are a heretic. I'm looking forward to getting the Titleist irons in, get them done, and then obviously get them sold straight after. Just try and recoup some of the money, because that's going to be, I don't know how expensive that one's going to be, but there you go. So get that one done. I've got the Mizuno. I posted a long question on Discord earlier. Oh, did you? Was that directly to me, or was that on the T-Box, Carl? Don't know. Felix says, I think you should offer a separate fitter's business account, obvious, way more expensive besides the consumer account, and do some marketing. This data just stands for itself. Thanks for your work. Andy and I have had this conversation before. And the interesting thing is, I mean, we've had conversations in the past. Different people have said that the information is so amazingly good that no one else have ever done this before. And I think the reason why no one else has done it before is time, inclination, knowledge, and also they don't want to risk peeing off the manufacturers. That is a big part. And so you've got all those things playing into the fact that it hasn't been done before. Now, of course, I don't in any way, I don't want to pee off the brands and the manufacturers. Of course I don't, not at all. But I also have always come down from the honesty first point of view, and I will continue to do so on the basis that I used to coach and custom fit full time and have to deal with customers that have been sold stuff. It's their hard-earned money, that they've wasted because, again, someone has decided to stare at the dollar signs or pound signs rather than the golfer in front of them. So when it comes to the website, when it comes to all the information that is on the website, my personal view is if a normal person at the end of the camera can justify to spend £3.99, £8.99, £13.99 a month to get all the information that they require from the website as an individual, I'm absolutely certain that a fitting company has got the funds to be able to justify the same thing. And we set it at a certain level to make it reasonable and sensible. But I think if it's good for one, it's good for all. Everyone should be treated the same. Is my personal opinion anyway. Andy, do you have any other opinion on that one?
And yeah, I mean,
I'm keeping quiet.
It's just like, what's the long-term goals? And the trouble is, you go down that rabbit hole of at what point does it become its own enemy? Because you're turning it into something beyond what it's supposed to be, and like you go from just presenting the data as it is for and most of the data that we provide on the website is in all the videos, right? There's most of it you can glean from the videos if you take the time to it. The price that we're putting on the website isn't necessarily to give people access to the data. There is access to the data already. It's putting it all in one place so that they can find it easy. And then the other tools that we put on the website are there as an additional feature, but those are outside the data of the clubs.
Yeah, I would agree absolutely that if someone was going to be of the current ones, we haven't got all the videos. I suppose you could argue from this year especially, all this year, there have been heat map related videos, and if someone wanted to spend the time, they could potentially rip the images. And if they could get a good enough screen grab of everything, put all the information manually into a spreadsheet and create their own version of. The interesting thing is it's then very, very difficult to then be able to manipulate that data and compare them as you can do on the website. The whole idea that all the raw information is on the website, and if you want to see how a 5-iron or a pitching wedge or an 8-iron or a 7-iron works within a certain set of a certain different irons that are different ends of the scale or the spectrum, you can't do that. Website you can. And if you want to see how a blended set's going to work, you see how the difference in launch factor of saying going from a T100 say to a T150 is going to help getting that peak height descent angle, say in the 4 and 5-iron. You can do that on the website. So the information is out there, yes it is, in snippet little localized chunks, but having somewhere to have all that information all in one place at hand, easy at any point, and to be able to make sure that you don't waste your money when it comes to effectively buying the wrong golf clubs, it's priceless in that sense. Because someone spending even a couple of months at gold at $13.99, the amount of money that if you just use the self-fit tool and just glean one thing of going, oh yeah, I don't need a 5-iron, do I? I've always had a 5-iron, but obviously that's not going to go in anywhere near a controllable fashion. It's going to come in at 39 degrees or whatever, which is effectively going to hit the green and disappear out the back. Then the money that they're going to save on that 1 iron alone has paid times fold for the website access. Times by however many golfers in the world that are making decisions daily about what golf clubs that they should buy. If they all did that, the amount of money that they would save themselves would be mental. AZPR says if you pee off, go on.
No, I was just thinking about the whole Ian Fraser thing, and TXG and Club Champion, and how he's ended up going full circle because of chasing the idea of creating a system for for people, everybody to follow, and then it becoming corporatized, and it just all falls apart. It becomes kind of like what you're against, because now it's all about making the money rather than just giving people the information and the ability to make their own choice. You end up yeah.
Sorry, that was Joachim. Thanks, Joachim.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just talking about the business account, versus the fitter account, a business account. And I just don't know where it would go in terms of, what more could you do for them? You're now building a fitting matrix for people, and you're basically just putting them into, like, right now, like I would put everybody in a JPEX 925 Forge.
Yeah,
because that's what the data says, and if you're basing it off that, everybody right now should have a 925 Forge. They'll probably all play better golf. So
my feeling is, I would be very reluctant to do any form of involving the website in any form of business side of things. As soon as money gets involved, as soon as you get other businesses involved, or at least you get this kind of thing involved, where no different to talking about TXG, etc., that as soon as you start getting that involved, this is always from day one, from when I very first started doing YouTube, and no different to the website, this has always been with the golfer in mind. Nothing to do with the marketing, nothing to do with anything else. It's all to do with the golfer, because I don't like it when people waste their money. It's not my money, but I just don't like it. I've never liked it. And I've always done my best for people where I possibly can do. And the YouTube is one side, the website is just another avenue for me to be able to get as much information as I can do, just so golfers can think, just question what's happening. And the information on the website is that the self-fit tool on the website is by far, the radar chart is great because the radar chart is very visual. You can see a comparative differences between two jobs. It's amazing. Heat maps, brilliant. Visual, we all like that. But it's the self-fit tool. The self-fit tool in itself is an amazing, amazing tool. It really, really is. And I go, Andy's head's going about so big now. What Andy needs a filter. You know, one of those filters that make your head really massive, like that. We used to have in the 80s, I can't remember what his name was, but is a guy with a papier-mâché head.
Frank Bottom.
Thank you. It was Frank, wasn't it? Yeah. So, and it is, the self-fit tool is worth its weight in gold because of just seeing how golf clubs, not golf clubs, but the ball with golf clubs are going to fly with your swing. There you go. Carl says, were there any daft comments during the last couple of weeks? Yes.
Always.
I was so busy today trying to get all the graphics sorted out. I got one video, I got the graphics done for the video that I filmed today, all that done. And then as soon as I come off of that, I did the graphics that you're going to see for the finalized overview Titleist video, which we've flicked up on the screen anyway. So you'll see them again soon with me basically explaining all of it. But we had loads. Well, we're not loads. We had a few. We'll keep them though.
Sum it up. Yeah, so the biggest ones this week were people stating the obvious of how the new Titleist irons are coming out in a couple of months, so why are we bothering reviewing them now? Well, because what's the point of reviewing the new ones if you don't know if compare them to the old ones? So obviously that's why we did that. I think one guy was complaining about, what was it? Oh yeah, there's no point a good striker testing clubs because it doesn't tell you how it works in a bad striker's hands.
Only watch half of the video then. Because that's the whole point of the video. You see the start of it, you see what it looks like, what it feels like, and how I feel it's working into a green. Again, that's my feelings. And then the second half of the video is the most important part of the video. We actually see how well it actually does rather than what I think and feel. Obviously, he didn't bother watching that bit.
Because it's funny, because like I could take any of the data from the website and you like put it into somebody else's swing. Like if they tell me roughly what they swing like, I can tell them exactly how that club's going to work. Like ridiculously close.
Yeah, potentially from a middle strike. Absolutely. Well, even though I suppose it's doable.
I can tell you where it's going to go from any strike. Tell me the face, how far the face is open. Tell me where you struck it on the face. I can tell you everything. From the data we glean, I can tell you anything.
The modelling is there, and it's just then a case of the flight trajectory, of which again, doable. I mean that would be a different one, wouldn't it? Adding face to path variance to self-fit.
Well, it's only going to tell you that one shot, though. It's not going to tell it's not going to tell you beyond that, like how how are you going to get better than that? It doesn't matter. Like the club will always do what you tell it to do. In terms of face to path, is predictable. That's how launch monitors work. That's how quad works. Quad only reads the face to path at an instant of impact, and then it can predict the flight based on that. So like the only thing that quad does is measure the exact dynamic loft and the angle of attack and all that at the instant. But if you tell me that and our club data, then I can put that in the flight model and tell you exactly what it's going to do. So to say that you can't tell what a club's going to do off a good striker versus a bad striker is not true.
But we need more amateurs hitting shots on reviews, apparently, to make the reviews even longer and glean nothing from the first half of the video. But yes, we did have, Carl, we had some funny ones. We do get, so I'll have to make sure we get div of the week, daft comment of the week, something head of the week. It depends what I can. A shout out to Niels, though, because I don't know if I can get these out very quick. I don't know if I can.
I can make the argument that asking were there any daft comments is in itself a daft comment.
Possibly, yeah, good point.
Because it's inevitable.
I haven't got it on my system here. Okay, so Niels was very kind on the last episode that we have of Div of the Week. He found the time to spend creating some jingles for the channel. So the next time we have Div of the Week, I will put some jingles on there. So it was funny, but we'll do that as a bit of fun. Right. Hey, now.
He's just caught up. He's a little behind.
Yeah. Oh, I understand how you feel sometimes. Right. If everyone is done, everyone's happy, we'll call it a day. Unless anyone wants to pop on chat very, very quickly with a question, I'm more than happy to answer. Otherwise, we'll give it a couple of minutes or a minute, and then we will depart, because it's been an hour and a half, so it's absolutely fine on that one. Tomorrow, hopefully, we have a ping video coming out where we test everything from the G400, the G410, yep, G425, yeah, and the 430, 440 over there somewhere.
It's interesting that the 440 is looking like the. Oh, not that. I mean, the I-230 looks like the 425 over there. Kind of looks like and it actually is almost the exact same shape as the new I-240.
Oh, yeah, with that bit down. Oh.
Yeah, if you fill that whole bit in with carbon, it's that.
That'll be interesting. I got fit in a 440 SF Tech last week. Hi, Spike. Hope you're well. Hope you're doing well, buddy. The 440 SF Tech's decent golf club. All the pings are decent golf clubs, really. They always do very well when it comes to fittings. Sales do really well. Ping are they're a very good brand. The interesting thing you're going to get from the results from testing from a G400, which was 2017, all the way to the brand new 2025 G440, the results are quite interesting. When you take away the subjectivity side of things, and you literally just work on the raw data,
But you don't have the 440 there, right? Would you have the 430 there?
Oh, back there somewhere.
Oh no, I was just wanting to look at the 400 versus hold up the 400 versus the 430.
Oh, it's under there somewhere. I'll have to go pull it all out
Not
the
the
bits
40,
and pieces.
the 30. The 30's on your desk.
Yeah, they're over there as well. Everything's over there at the moment, and I
Okay.
ain't got to sort stuff out. But
yeah, it's just interesting that the 400 kind of was like a technology, the I series, the Ping I2, kind of with that round eye in the middle, just more technology based rather than just forging based. But
yeah, because you had that Perflex thing, didn't you, in the back of the head? Have I got one? I'm trying to think. Where is it on here?
I'm just saying, in terms of technology, there really isn't that much to the 400, other than the shape of it. Yeah. It's interesting. The results.
Not much in it, is there?
The results are interesting.
Yeah, but I find it quite interesting, right? You've got that, which is the inverted cone technology what they had in the 400, and then you had the even the 410. Look how the toe. Hang on, see how the toe goes. It goes along there and then goes like this. No different up there. You go like the back end of it goes like that and then goes down. So the back end goes and then they've started the design of the 440 and they've copied it from the 410. Even the 425 had it, but the 400 didn't. It was a straight across and a huge undercut cavity. They've all got massive undercut cavities, but then that's the design. If you like undercut cavities and a massive undercut cavity for that one, then you'll love that. But there you go. Right, let's go quickly check the chat. My driver is a 2012 BioCell. Wow, that is going back some time. I wonder if that face will be illegal by now. Time and great discount. I love a good discount. How much tech between them? There's a lot of color schemes between them, I can definitely tell you that. And there is a lot of tech as well in between it. How much difference it would really make, I would love to put a 2012 BioCell driver up against something of the newer. I mean, how far could you go back?
I mean, what do you reckon? I posted in Discord the other day a chart of the CGs from the 2016 drivers and the 2017 drivers. And the interesting thing is in the tailor-made, the original M1, M2 tailor-made drivers, their total MOI was like 5.5, 6,000, right? Yeah. Compared to some of the Ping stuff that came out that year that was, pushing the 9K back, was in the 9K range. And you think at that point that if we're to believe what we're to believe, that would make the M1 and the M2 absolute trash at that time with almost 30% more MOI. So I don't know. It's interesting. I wonder what. Although I do think those clubs were bad, that's not the point.
I think so. I can remember the M1, M2 distinctly, and other golf clubs at the same time as well. SLDR and yeah. Now, the reason why Ping done so well for so many years is because they've always been basically heavy head, and they've also always been high up there on the MOI. And we are talking when MOIs for the rest of the manufacturers were 4,000, 5,000, not very big whatsoever. And you've got this brand, this manufacturer, which is sacrificing other things, sacrificing clubhead speed because they're heavy heads, as opposed to the other ones, which are very much so a lighter head, make their mass travel faster. That was their design idea. And you go up against a Ping where you may not be able to move it so fast, but I mean, it's so good relatively compared to those more stable that Ping got themselves a reputation for exactly that. Unfortunately, nowadays, everyone else has caught up. Everyone's caught up now to a point where they've still got relatively light heads. We're not talking a massive difference between them, but they've still got slightly lighter heads, and they're now within reason very, very close to it, if not matching and beating exactly what Ping are doing. But Ping has still got slightly heavy heads. So what you've seen with the 440 is they're now starting to then come back the other way, and this is where potentially Ping are going to have to start relearning, because they haven't had to do the amount of work in the last few years where all the other manufacturers have been.
I think Ping should go back to where they were. I think they should lower the MOI and make the heads heavier again. And I think TaylorMade is a big example of why super lightweight and high MOI doesn't work, because everybody's complaining right now that the QIs, 10s and 35s are blowing up left and right. Everybody's shattering them.
Yeah, so, failures, unfortunately, that's what happens when as soon as you start pushing boundaries of something, especially when you can kind of move the design in a certain direction where material science has not as yet completely caught up. Or it will do, it has done initially, but not for repeated use. And this is what a lot of golfers are finding at the moment. And then you add in the inevitable slight differences in quality of manufacturer, and you end up with issues, shall we say.
Yeah. All right.
We ended up with a 9, turned up to 10. Trying to decide to buy it or not, it hurts me. Oh, this is what, yeah, it was not a straight, no, it's not a great distance difference, but straight for me. Straight is good. Anytime you're off the tee and you know where it's going to go, as long as it's not water, it's all good. Right, guys, thank you very, very much for watching. As always, remember, if you want to get involved in these, we do these, generally speaking, every single Monday, 7 p.m. UK time, which is obviously wherever you are in the world other than 7 p.m. UK time. Get your questions in on Discord will probably be the best way of doing it. You can put it in the comments section after we finish going live on this one. But the best way to get in contact with myself and Andy, if you wish, got any questions or anything else like that, is through Discord. Andy did put on the chat up here somewhere, there we are, the Discord link if you want to go on there, or you can just click onto the video description and then the Discord's in there. Remember, guys, you've also got the website for the people that haven't used the website as yet, www.askgolfnut.com, where we've got about between 80, 90 irons or so just for the iron database, and we're obviously going to be building more drivers on there, as well as these releases will start coming soon. So that robot over there needs to be working soon. Thanks very much, Andy. Appreciate it as always. And we'll see everybody again soon.
Bye-bye.